In this session, we're going to see what is intelligent lookup and how to create that. So before creating that, if any of you are from a BW background, this intelligent lookup is kind of lookup what we do, to look into master data and pick a field from there. So similar kind of thing, and also somewhat like join, I can say. So let's see, we have our transaction data, which contains our transaction ID, say store ID, product ID, and sales manager ID, all these things. So, and also we have a dimension store where it is store ID and store name, city, state name, on all these things. Let's assume for this uh, example scenario, I have store ID in my transaction data and I want to see store name also. So what we can do normally in BW is we look into store ID master data and we bring the store name field from that. So similarly, how we can do that using this intelligent lookup. So right now I have created one folder called intelligent lookup in our Datasphere folder. So let's start creating intelligent lookup and see how this works. Just click on new intelligent lookup, or you can also create from here by clicking on intelligent lookup. Once you click, you will get like this. Let's minimize the control panel left side. So it's saying input table node lookup, and we have something called rule where we can specify some rules, and this is the output view. So as our scenario is like we have transaction data and in that we have store ID. And by using that store ID, we are going to look into store ID dimension master data and bring the store name. So I'll go into my folder and I'll bring my sales transaction table, which we created in the initial stages. So let's go and bring sales transaction as my input. Okay, now it's saying some error. Let's see what is that. Saying you must specify a pairing column for input sales transaction. It is saying we have to specify one pairing column. We assume that store ID, which we are going to use for the lookup in our store dimension data. So let's bring that here. Now the error is gone. Now I have to look into my store master data, dimension data. So let's bring our store here. Okay, now it's saying again there is one more error. Let's see what it is. It says you must specify one or more return columns for lookup entities. So what do we want in return is store name. So you can see here drag and drop columns here to define them as return columns. I want this store name. Now you see here we have nine columns in sales transaction, whereas 8 columns in store. Now what we are doing is we are looking up using store ID and bringing store name. So that's why in the output node, if you see all columns from the input table and the whatever we are looking up, that will be there here, store name. And you see here the store ID, whatever the pairing column we took, that is input store ID. Okay, now this is okay. So here it's saying there is an error in the rule node. Let's see what is that. You must match columns for we have to specify condition, right? Like here we know theoretically, but we have to map the column where on which column it has to do with the so store ID. This is the transaction, so I just mapped it. So now I don't have any errors, and in the output I can see all 10 columns along with 9 from sales transaction, 1 from store name based on the store ID. Just a simple lookup. So Yeah, just click on somewhere else to see the intelligent lookup properties. Here we don't have anything. Let's name this as something called, let's say, intelligent lookup. Let's say lookup one. Okay, let me save this. I want to save this as it is. And let's deploy. Once deployed, we have to run this intelligent lookup. Okay. So now going to be deployed. Just give some time. Yeah, now it's deployed. So, and if you go and see in the output, you will not have any data because we did not run this set. Okay, we have, but you see here, we don't have store name. It's completely null. So let's run this and see what happens. It says run started. It's completed, and here you can see. So we have some colors here: green, yellow, red, and gray. Green says 100. That means all records are matched and the lookup happened. If you go to here and see the data view, you can see now you are getting the store name. Let's maximize this. And you see ST47 is Steve Ada, ST15 is Steve's, ST45 is M store, like that. If you go and check in your dimension array, you'll see the correct data. Like these are the store names for the store ID. But like what are the other things where it shows 0%? It says 100% matched in this case because we have exact store ID available in the store master data. Like whatever we have the store ID in transaction data, that is available. Suppose let's say if the data is not correctly formatted, in those cases what happens? So here you can see the rule output also, like data. If you want to see the preview data, you can go here. There are different options. So basically we are getting total 108,520 records. Out of that, everything is matched. You can see here it's matched. If any of the records are not matched, that will come under red, like how much percentage of are not matched, that you can see here, and how many of them are not processed at all, and how many of them are like multiple. Like suppose if say you have given matching condition as store ID, suppose let's say if there are multiple scenarios where it can match, then those things will come under here. But in our case, we have exactly matched values for all. So that's why you can see, everything is 100% green. So now let's say, uh, let's go into other scenario, and you can see here, you can add one more rule. Like this is the rule by default. When we click on intelligent lookup, it has come. You can add one more rule and all that we'll see. So now what I want to do is I want to create one more table, and I want to load data into that, and I want to use that for my lookup. So let's do one thing. I'm going to create table here itself, or let's go back and create in tables only, so that data is like all things are organized. So far we have seen creating table, like we have defined the columns and all. You can also create table by directly uploading file. We don't need to specify tables and then save and deploy the structure and then load data. Instead, you can directly also you can come here. Sorry, this one. You can directly import the CSV file and create a table. Now we will see like how to do that. Let's create one table by uploading the CSV file. Let's say select file. Here I have one more like store data. Let's load that. Use first storage column, yeah, and CSV didn't auto detect. Let's upload this. So this is again same store data, and I want to define a key here. I want to set my store ID as key. You can click on three dots. You can set, or you can click here. Here you have option set this column as set key. Anyway, like anything, anyway you can do. So I set this as a. Let's deploy it. I want to give like store data as my table name. Let's deploy it. Okay, that way also you can create by directly uploading the flat file. Now let's go back to our intelligent lookup scenario. This time what I want to do is I want to use this newly created table as my lookup instead of the old one. Let's go into our intelligent lookup which we created. And let's say I want to replace with the old store table with the new one. Let's go inside our tables, store data, which is this is the one which we created now. So what I'll do is I want to replace this. Let's drag this and drop here. The action will delete all existing matches and cannot be undone. Do you want to continue? Yeah, replace the lookup. Now I have a new like lookup, which is store underscore data. Again, it says because you must specify one return column. I want again same thing, like either you can choose store name or store city. I want my return as store name. I want to see the store name. And here you see, since we replaced, I think rule is also gone. So here again, you have to specify which is the uh, column for rule, like based on what column you want to do lookup. See, you have so far we are only taking store ID, but it's I told you right. It's also like giant. Like you can use multiple columns also if you see any something matching condition. Like suppose let's say store ID we have. If you had store like state ID or state name, you can also map them like multiple columns also you can use for mapping. Okay. But since I don't have in this scenario, I'm just going with only one column. If you had like store city also, you can map based on all these three, like it will check if all three are same, then it's gonna return our store name. Suppose let's say two of them are matching, store ID, state ID, and store city. Suppose if you have some like something is not matched, then it will not return your output exactly. It might go into unmatched because one of the column is not matched, or if the column is matching like say let's say 50 or 60%, it might go into multiple, like that difference. But let's see in this scenario what happens. I just replaced my lookup table and I'm define the condition based on okay store ID. My store ID is present here. With that, like it has to bring my store name. So let's save this. Saved successfully and deploy this. Let's wait for the changes to be deployed. Okay, now its deployment is completed. Let's run and see what happens this time. Because I have shown you the new lookup we have replaced, but I have not shown you the data, what is there in the, it's almost similar, but I made some changes so that, we can go into others. You can see here, 95% of the data is matched, exactly matched, and that you can see in the output. And you can see this line also. And 0% is multiple, 5% is not matched. 5% of the data in this 109,000 records, 5% of the data is not matched. And that we can see here. Like if you go here, see the data preview, internal server, let's wait, let's close this. Let's come to rule and see the data preview, what it says. These are all the match record, like you can see ST18 and lookup store ID ST18 and return column store name. So these are all matched. There are no multiples. You can see in the unmatched we have around 5K records. So why they are not matched? Because you can see here, this is complete data of our store underscore data. And here you can see these are unmatched records. Like suppose I have two records with store 100, two transaction data records. But here you see, I don't have ST100. We have ST100, but there is some space here. You can see for all these like ST100, 101, 102, 103 till 109, we have some issue with the data, like it is space. So this is not correctly formatted. That's why, it is not able to match. Just the store ID, it has to match with this. But here I don't see any ST100, but it is there, but there is some space. That's why it is not able to match exactly. That's why they went into unmatched. So how do we match them? So you can, that's by if you come here, similarly like ST101, you have 10 space 1. I think 106 also same. And you see all of them are like ST till this transaction data which contains stores 100 to 108 are having issues. They are not able to match because they are not able to find the exact store ID name in the lookup. That's why they went into unmatched. So now let's do one thing. How do we proceed, like process this unmatched data? So either you have to have a correct data in the lookup, or what we can do is, if you come here, if you click the rule, here it says, sorry, when you click on that, it's giving two options. Add rule for multiple matches, add rule for unmatched records. Here we don't have any multiples. We have unmatched. That's why it is giving two options right here. Close this. Add rule for multiple matches. We don't have any multiple matches, but we have unmatched records. Let's click on that. So what it is saying, it's giving new rule. Okay. And also it's saying we said add rule for unmatched. So 95% of the records are already matched. So they will already like process, they will go into output directly. But whatever the new rule we have added, that is for unmatched. So only this unmatched, like whatever we have, I think 5,000 records, that will pass through this rule. Again, here there is an error because we have to set a rule here. Let's say what we can do is, see, so far here in the rule, we didn't see this. In the first lookup, so in the first rule, we kept it as it is, exact match. But if you expand that, there is something called fuzzy match. What is that? Let's see that. Uh, what we can do is for this unmatched, we'll say fuzzy match. Then it's giving some options here, like see match threshold. If I go back, I don't have this option. Okay. It's just asking me to provide the column where based on what you want to do lookup. And you have also some other options like input record filter, like if you want to filter some records based on some columns, you can do that. And lookup record filter, like if you want to do some filters for these lookup records, and some advanced settings like see case sensitive is okay, and trim leading and trailing white spaces, those things also set. That means it will remove any leading or trailing white spaces are there, that will be done. But you see, this is leading and trailing, not in between. Okay. And now let's go back to here, fuzzy match. And it's giving me some options like match record score 100% is there currently. That means if the match, like the column, like store ID should match 100% in the lookup, then only it will proceed. Or else no. So in our case, what we can do is let's reduce this to 90%. Let's say if 90% is matches, 90% matches, then proceed like process my record. So let's see what happens. This review record score, this and all, let's leave that. But this one we reduce from 100% to 90% and see what happens. And also still error because we selected, again we have to define a condition for this rule, right? Here you just click on we want based on what column, store ID. So now since we give 90%, it will check the rule. If it matches 90% at least, not exactly. If it matches 90%, then it will process the record. So we define as 90%, we map the columns. Let's save this. And let's deploy this. Let's check if it's, so it's still going on. Let's wait for the deployment to complete. Okay, it's applied. Now we have to run. So when we run, what happens is this rule is applicable for only this 5%. Okay. Because when it started, we know 95% of them will match and they'll go directly. And 5% we have unmatched. So this rule will applicable to this unmatched records. So let's run this. Yes. Okay, now the run is completed. You can see here. So 5 out of 5%, 4% of them are passed and they went through this rule. But 1% is under review. Let's go and see what is that. If you go to preview data, see, we have total 4,918 records which were unmatched, out of which now when we set the match record score to 90%, okay, if 90% of the criteria matches, then it will be processed. You can see here match records, it says ST100, and here it matched with ST10, which is not correct actually, because ST10 is different, ST100 is. But since we set the condition as 90%, and here it was like 91% matching, so it assigned this, but which is wrong. But just I'm showing like how this works. So now out of 5% records, 4% of them are matched because we set the criteria as 90%, but it is wrong. So just showing like how we can use in this scenario it will not work, but if you have like complete text, let's say name, you have some like spaces in between one, and here you have one space without space name, then in those cases it will work properly, because this we took a store ID, that's why it's not correct. But yeah, just showing like how this works. Let's go to multiples. Here you see these are like not processed. It says like multiple criteria like for ST101. So it matches 91% criteria. And this 110, 90%, is 85%, is 83% like that. So like again, you can add some rule and you can set some condition so that it might match like that. You can add, you can go and add again new rule for the multiple, add new rule for multiples, then you can add a new rule, and then like that you can define condition. But you can also do one more thing, like I know here ST101 should go to 101, so let's select these two records, and I know this should go to 101. I can select this. You see here, you can click on match directly, and you want to see all the records, you can see here. These are matching conditions, candidates. But here I know HT101 should go to 101. I can click on match so that all 5% is done. Okay. So like that, this mainly used in case if you have some, unprocessed data, like where if you are getting data from some other sources like databases where data is not properly formatted. In those cases, we can use this intelligent lookup. Okay. So yeah, that's how this works. And that's all for today. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you in the next sessions.